gearbox.
Thank you. So this is the gearbox from what?
Right, this is the gearbox out of that WLA C, I should say. Initial, he said he'd ridden it for 300 miles and it seemed okay. So it was leaking oil out of here, which basically your oil seal is in the drive sprocket there.
Yep.
But when it was on the bench, notice the first thing I noticed was when you pushed it on, the oil seal didn't actually go over this lip. So that main shaft was too far this way. That was the first thing, that didn't fit. You could push this in that way by, I think it was that far.
Okay.
It's 275 thou. It
Yep.
should be 4 thou.
Okay.
Okay. So also you could push this in and out.
Yeah.
So basically there was no end thrust washer on your main shaft. The washer that sits on the end of the end shaft before your collared spacer was on the wrong side. So that was on this side of the spacer. So the spacer wasn't doing anything basically.
Yeah.
First and second gear shimming was all completely out. That shifter fork hence has chewed itself to death, so we've got to get another shifter fork for it. But basically it was all assembled wrong.
Okay.
The whole lot. This had, hence why that isn't a tight fit on there anymore on the oil seal, so we've got to get a new drive sprocket because you can't get the oil seal separate. So that is too loose because the bearings in this end were shot.
Right.
So you've got your nominal 1 thou of up and down, which is what you should have.
Yeah.
If you get them too tight, they get hot and make a horrible noise. So that's all shimmed up correctly, so we've got that back. Tighten our DTI up. Okay, so you set that at 0. So push that in and out, and we've got 4 to 4.5 thou.
Yeah.
Which is exactly where it should be. All new bearings, all new shim washers, blah 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 blah, end thrust washers. So I've gone through all the bearings, had to replace the bearings in the counter shaft, they were worn. That's got its 10 thou of end play on there. Re-shimmed first and second gear, that's the one that you shim it up with, so that's all good. But when they're on the main shaft, that's second gear, so those two cogs sit on there on that shaft. Yeah. That's for that drive dog, that tooth bit is that drive dog, or no, that drive dog. So they're all okay, they don't look too well. That one's worn a little bit, but nothing to frantic about. So that's shimmed up, so you've got 7 thou between the cog and there, which is correct. Unless you get that right, there's no point in shimming up your shifter forks because that happens.
Yeah.
So waiting on the new drive cog, got a new oil seal out of stock, got a new top gasket, need a new outer gasket, which again I will double check everything when it's back together because the thickness of the gasket can make a slight difference.
Yeah.
But cursory, you know, checking it out to make sure it will all go in and it all fits properly, which it does. That oil seal's knackered, but like I say, we have one in stock. It needed to be taken apart realistically. I mean, first initial thoughts were you're never going to seal that. That was my issue, giving the bike back and it's going to piss oil out everywhere. So there's no point in doing it. The other thing we've got to get round, we've got a new gearbox adjuster bolt, thinking it was missing, it's broken off inside there.
Oh, okay.
So we've got to get that out somehow, which hopefully with a bit of heat on the alley and a reverse tap we should get it out. So that's the life story of that one really, but it needed doing at the
100%.
end of the day. It would have just leaked oil everywhere, and the point of bringing it in, one of the things he said is leaking oil from the front of the gearbox.
I was going to say that, yeah.
So it had to be done. It's just not a nice thing. They're horrible things to work on, but once I know my way around them too well now. So, and like I say, unless you've got all the shims and all the spares and bits and washers and needle rollers and everything, you're never going to do it.
Would have there been any telltale signs when he's riding it of the problems inside the gearbox?
I'm sure there would have been, but he said it rode okay.
What would he? I mean, he said he doesn't know these bikes very well at the moment.
Yeah.
So what would you notice when you were riding it to tell you that?
Hard to get back into neutral, rocking it to get it into first gear.
So you should just slide in all the time.
You should just click it with your thumb. Click. finger, click, click, click.
So if you're riding a bike and it's not doing that, there's a potential problem within the gearbox.
Potential problem within the gearbox, and unless you're seriously confident on the clutch on one of them, you can get unstuck very easily on them.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was standing outside Goodwood when we dropped Martin's car off last year, and there was a bloke on a WLA. I've never heard a gearbox like it. He was trying to get it in gear, and stopped, phoned his mate. I didn't want to get involved. I thought he was just going to think I'm some dickhead, do you know what I mean? Stopped, phoned his mate up, and ended up pushing it round to where all the Harleys were meeting up, or the year before it was, I can't remember now. This is the inherent problem with old motorcycles. People tinker, people get on them and keep riding it. It's not going to get better. If a gearbox is doing that, it is not going to get better. All you're going to do is make it worse.
It's always like this when it's cold.
Yeah, it's that sort of scenario. You know, no, I haven't touched the carburettor. No, I haven't done this. No, I haven't done that. Well, yeah, you have. But I can understand why people do it. It's their bike. But once they're set up right, leave them alone.
If you can't find it, grind it.
Yeah, that's the one. There's a gear in there somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.